This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program Money Talk, we now bring you a dialogue on RBI ban on 0% interest scheme. The participants are Paranjoy Guha Thakurta, economist, and Aditi Fadnas of the Business Standard.
In a somewhat unexpected move, the Reserve Bank last month banned 0% interest rate schemes for purchase particularly of consumer goods, though I imagine this will extend to housing loans and other loans which people take to purchase goods. We are all familiar with the 0% interest schemes where you go into a shop and you buy a thing on installments, imagining that it will be cheaper because you have to pay it over a period of time without paying any interest. But the RBI has found that these are very misleading schemes and has cracked down on banks which offer these schemes, as well as the cascading effect will be felt on those retailers who are also offering these schemes. Paranjoy, how does the scheme work and why is RBI so angry about having these schemes? Strictly speaking, I would imagine that this is a competition commission issue and not an RBI issue at all.
Aditi, the way I perceive it is that this is essentially a notification issued by the Reserve Bank of India on the 26th of September as a means to create greater awareness among customers about how banks and those who offer credit card facilities and those who sell various kinds of products seek to exploit gullible and vulnerable customers. And this is the second time the Reserve Bank of India has intervened, the first being the one when there was the 80-20 scheme between builders and banks as far as real estate is concerned. Let me try and explain this in some detail.
Yeah, if you could just tell us how it works.
Okay. See, firstly, the term zero interest in itself is like an oxymoron. It's a contradiction in terms. What the Reserve Bank of India has said, and it's significant that it's come just ahead of the festive season where large numbers of consumer goods companies seek to, attract customers by offering these very attractive loan schemes. What the Reserve Bank of India has done, it's basically asked all banks to offer a uniform interest rates and a processing fee on what are called EMI, that's an equated monthly installment on credit card schemes for various retail products, and discouraging them from saying that we're offering them at 0% interest. Because what the banks essentially do, they load the expenses incurred in securing a loan through a direct sales agent who earns a commission on this in the applicable rate of interest or the rate of return which is charged on the product. Now you see, if the interest rate and the processing fee are not uniform, then the schemes only serve a purpose of alluring and exploiting vulnerable consumers. So what the Reserve Bank is saying, that if you're a bank and you're offering a credit card scheme, please make your customer fully aware what are the discounts, what are the subventions on the price, and what is the moratorium period for payment offered by manufacturers. And do not take advantage of the ignorance of the customer. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Suppose you have a 0% EMI scheme. So A gives B a loan for say 10 rupees. And then you say that you pay 1 rupee a month for 10 months and we're not charging you any interest. But actually, you should not be charging 10, say you should be charging 9. And you have hidden in it a processing fee of 1. This would imply that the actual money you're loaning is 9 plus 1 rupee, which is the processing fees. So the interest rate is actually not 0, but about 23.5% per month. I'm giving it to a very, very simple example to illustrate a point. Now, let me read out to you one paragraph from the notification which was put out by the Reserve Bank of India, which should, I think, explain the point. He said, if there is a discount offered in the price of a product, the loan amount sanctioned for the purchase should be after taking into account the discount, rather than giving effect to the benefit by reducing the rate of interest. Similarly, if there is a moratorium period for the payment which is available, the benefit should be passed on to the consumer by ensuring that the repayment schedule, including the interest servicing, commences after the moratorium period rather than adjusting it in the rate of interest. Essentially, so I see it more as a consumer protection scheme, and you're right. Perhaps a similar kind of awareness scheme should also have been launched by the Consumer Affairs department which keeps putting out advertised Jago, Grahak, Jago. So in a sense, the Reserve Bank of India, you are right, has been proactive because these credit cards, after all, are offered by banks. So in that sense, the intention is to tell the banks who are offering these credit cards, don't disclose all the information. Act in a transparent manner. Yes.
This whole thing arises, the Reserve Bank's concern arises also from the fact that these kind of offers and schemes prevent accurate price discovery on the part of the consumer. So you have, for the same good, you have many different prices, and some of them are padded by what seems to be ostensibly an easy term loan system of buying a good. But there is a downside also, Paranjoy, which is that many of us cannot afford to pay all at once. And so the EMI scheme does offer you a sort of a breather, even if you have to pay interest on it. So what is the RBI's
You are absolutely correct. I think the RBI scheme is not a negation or an attempt to stop the EMI scheme or an equated monthly installment scheme whereby loans are expended to purchase certain products, and obviously say a salaried person or a person who is not a wealthy person is able to pay in those equated monthly installments. So I think there's nothing wrong with that, and neither is the Reserve Bank even suggesting there's anything wrong with such schemes. All it is merely saying that be transparent.
Don't call it by a name other than...
Don't call it a zero interest scheme when you are actually hiding what is, you might call, a processing fee. Or you have a moratorium period. So disclose all the facts to the person who is availing of that loan. That's all that the Reserve Bank is saying. Now you see, what happens is, in the festive season, people want to purchase because this is traditionally the time of the year when, certain kinds of consumer products, their sales peak because this is the festive season. But what they are merely saying that you want to buy these gadgets, you can't afford to pay the entire amount at one go, fine. You don't have the financial capacity to pay that, pay in equated monthly installments. But make sure you know what you're getting into. Don't be deluded into believing that there's no interest just because it is hidden in the fine print. Many of us don't read the fine print. So the Reserve Bank of India is telling banks and those who offer these credit card schemes that tell your customer what they're getting into.
In the same notification, Paranjoy, there was another aspect of the scheme that is offered by debit cards. The RBI said that debit cards often levy a fee if you use your debit card to buy X, Y or Z thing, and therefore that fee is illegal, it should not be allowed. So what should a consumer do if the person says that if you use a debit card, I'm going to charge you 0.5%?
Okay. See, you are absolutely right. And how is it relevant? It's relevant because the same debit card, the company or the bank that is giving you this credit card scheme is not giving you all the facts, is not informing you adequately what you should be knowing. Here is an example. Here is a very fancy, say, mobile phone or some other household gadget. And how do they then attract the customer? They say, the price is, say, X amount of rupees, but we are giving it to at a lower price by giving you what is called a 15% cash back. But this is not telling you the full story because the price should never have been the high amount that it was claimed in the first place. It's like saying you go into a shop and you are saying, here is a 50% discount on a particular product that you want to buy. But you are not told that you have doubled the price of the product and then giving you a 50% discount, but therefore you're buying it at the price that you're supposed to be buying. So I essentially see the Reserve Bank of India having notified such a scheme and putting a ban on these zero interest loans as a consumer protection measure.
What I think is the most important area where people part with large sums of money and have no protection is in the real estate sector. And unfortunately, this scheme does not apply, I think, to the real estate sector.
This is mainly the way I understand it. It's things like mobile phones, television set, various kinds of consumer goods, white goods, refrigerators and washing machines and microwave ovens. My understanding is this, because the earlier scheme, which was the 80-20 scheme.
If you could explain that also, because there are so many perils of taking a bank loan and for the scale of which runs into lakhs of rupees, and a simple mistake can cost you a lot of money. So what was the 80-20 scheme and how were people, to use a colloquialism, ripped off by it?
See, essentially what they were not being told was what was hidden in the fine print. Typically, when you were offering a bank a loan, you were not told that you could be eligible for certain, say, a moratorium on the repayment of the loan, or that certain processing fees or hidden costs were actually put into the equated monthly installment plan. Once again, whether it's, and here the 80-20 case was clearly a case of a collusion between the builders and the banks, because both sought to gain from it, and the person at the losing end was the other people who would take the loan. So I think at the end of the day, what the Reserve Bank is trying to do, and I fully support the Reserve Bank of India, though, people have been complaining that before the festival season, sales will get depressed, and anyway, the economy is not doing that well, and there's not enough purchases, this was the wrong time to do it. No, I think at the end of the day, what the country's central bank and apex monetary authority is doing is perhaps, you can call it a bit of an overreach, but then the Reserve Bank is doing it because then to ensure that other agencies of the government, you mentioned the Competition Commission of India, there's a Consumer Affairs Ministry, you have to make people aware that do go into the fine print. Whether you're taking a loan to purchase a flat or a house, or whether you're taking a loan to purchase a mobile phone or a fridge or a microwave oven, please insist on knowing what are the terms and conditions. Find out. Don't be allured just because somebody says zero interest. Ask, what is the processing fee? And what the Reserve Bank is doing, it is literally ensuring, it's not that a lot would depend, even very, very well-intentioned schemes are often not properly implemented, but it's also aimed at telling the consumer, please ask the right questions when you purchase a product and take a loan using a credit card. Ask the right questions. Find out what are the fees. Don't just be taken in by the big bold print of that advertisement which says zero interest or get 15% cash back. So don't just be taken. Ask the questions. What is actually the moratorium period? What is the processing fee? What is the discount that you are actually giving, which the person who is offering you that scheme is getting from what is called the direct sales agent? And that would enable you to say these are the commissions. I think essentially that is endeavor on the part of the Reserve Bank of India.
You mentioned padding of 23%, as much as 23% on the price through the zero interest scheme, meaning this padding, this 23%, who gets it?
This is the hypothetical example I gave you. If you say that you are giving a loan for 100 rupees and you pay it in 10 equal installments of 10 rupees each, what you are not disclosing is actually the product itself is not worth 100 rupees but 90 rupees, and that 10% is the processing fee. Now what you call as processing fee is hidden like a rate of interest. So you are not saying it's a zero rate of interest, but you're calling it a processing fee. If instead of calling it a processing fee, you called it a zero rate of interest, you would actually get 10 rupees out of 100 rupees over a 10-month period, and then you equate it over a 12-month period, and the effective rate of interest per year over the whole year would be about 23.5% or 23.56% to be precise. So this is something that you can sit and calculate using a calculator or even the back of an envelope. And what I think the central bank is telling people to do this. Otherwise, you yourself will get fooled. You think you're getting a bargain, but actually you're not. These are just techniques of advertising to lure you and allure you.
So basically, you want to take a loan to pay for something because you can't pay a large sum of money all at once. So you take a loan and you pay for that thing and you buy it. But don't think that the interest is going to be zero, because it is never going to be zero.
Absolutely correct.
So the listener needs to know that not to be led astray by seemingly attractive schemes. The RBI is out there fighting for your rights. There is no such thing as 0% interest. Thank you, Paranjay.
Thank you very much, Aditi.
You were listening to a dialogue on RBI ban on 0% interest scheme. The participants were Paranjoy Guha Thakurta, economist, and Aditi Fadnas of the Business Standard. It came to you in the program Money Talk, produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsttalks@gmail.com.